Hey guys, welcome back to Mike's Guns and Archery. Christian here. Been a little while since I recorded the last video. Just wanted to talk to you guys about a few different things. Mostly going to show off some stock that we've got in. Got some cool ones that are relatively new. Just general store news. SOT came in. It's been a few weeks longer than I expected it to be, but soon enough I'll be getting suppressors in here. I've already got a bunch of regulars that have a list that they want. Hopefully the market's not too dried up and we can get them what they want. I applied for a silencer shot kiosk, which, like I described in the last video, that's just one of those, it helps people get that Form 4 in quicker and easier. It takes the fingerprints and the photos and the payment for the tax stamp and all that stuff. So that's very exciting. Got a lot of new things going on. Got some new shelving built. Once I'm done with my dumb little monologue here, I guess I'll show you some things that we're moving around here in the store. And we'll just go over some new stock. So I won't keep you for very long. Hopefully the suppressors will be in soon. I'll be showing those off. Once again, Mike's Guns, 511 Pierce Lane in Frankfort, Kentucky. Google us. We show up. Hours and all that are on there, 9 to 8 Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 on Saturday. Can't wait to see you. And let's get all the good stuff in the store. All right, before we get into new stock, new guns, biggest change here in the store is we've got a shelf added here in the corner where we're putting all the bulk ammo. A lot of this is actually consignment for a gentleman who's going to be moving to Florida. He's kind of liquidating his collection and he's asked me to sell a bunch of stuff for him, guns included. But got the targets over here, built some shelves out of 12-inch cinder blocks and 2x8s. One of the locals, Hutch, really nice guy, actually provided me with some of the free block, bless his heart. He asked me if I needed some, and I said, yeah, Hutch, I'll come down there and get it at your place where you got it all laying around one of these days soon, and you can point me in the right direction. He disappears. It's 100 degrees outside. He shows back up like 3 hours later, sweating down to his ankles. He said, I got a truckload of block out there for you. That's like Tim Hutcherson, shout out, good guy. This is just kind of bulk ammo, guys. What I try to do with the stuff that I keep in my personal stock is try to have several cases of stuff that I keep on the shelf that I sell by the box. And if somebody wants to buy a case of it, you get a bit of a discount. We haven't sold a ton of bulk ammo yet, but it's always nice to have some backup on the shelf. So on the top there, we've got 9mm 38 specials, a little bit of 380 on the bottom. I've got, that's 5.56 there. These you move over. You got some more, some 45, 40 Smith & Wesson, some 357, a little bit more 5.56 and 308 on the bottom shelf. And then on top we got shotgun shells, 12 and 20 gauge at the moment. It's all we've got flats for. For those that wonder what that is, a flat's a case. It's 10 boxes of 25 rounds each, so a flat of shotgun shells is 250 rounds. And just like all the other bulk ammo, a lot of this is backup that you would have individual on the shelf, individual boxes. But come dove season, come pheasant season, and for just around the year, as people shoot competitively, they tend to buy it by the flat, because when you're shooting birds and when you're shooting clay birds, you go through a lot of it really quick. It does not take very long to go through 250 rounds of ammo. Some more lovely additions we're working on, trying to build up the AR parts. A lot of guys like to build their own AR-15s from the ground up. It's just a good way to, if you're building a little bit of a bigger, badder, higher quality, more expensive gun, you save a little bit of money building it yourself, but the big reason most people do it is so they can have something that is exactly what they want. There's so many options out there in the AR-15 world that you go spend $1,000 or $1,500 sometimes on ARs, and you can spend a lot more, and actually quite a bit less than that on one, but you don't necessarily get exactly what you want. So this is just the very beginning of this. I got some more stuff mixed in there with that that's like magazine holsters and stuff, but buffer tubes, bolt carriers, charging handles, little things like that. Gonna build this slowly. Can't afford to do it all at once. I'd have to fill this whole store up to have everything they make and spend bukus of money. So this is just kind of the beginning. Basic stuff that people would want. Those Rainy Raptor charging handles are hot commodities. A few little extra spare parts for lowers, some grips, bolt carriers, buffer tubes, etc. Got all the slings, studs, swivels, stuff like that for your slings, a few different riser mounts, and then some mag pull accessories. Front and rear sights, foregrips, slings, swivels, stuff like that. So just trying to build that stock up. There's plenty of room left on this wall, but by the time it's done, this wall won't even hold close to everything we've got. Another thing we got today, this is actually one of my regulars. He bought this scope. This is a Leopold VX3 Boone and Crockett edition. Super nice scopes. This is one of Leopold's kind of medium tier scopes. They've got scopes that are $200 and scopes that are $3,000, but this is just a great little rifle scope, high quality. And he bought it brand new, put it on a gun, put about 18 rounds through the gun, and then decided that he was going to go something a little bit more magnification. He's looking for like an 8 to 25 instead of a 4.5 to 14. So he brought this one in for me to sell for him. Got it for $624.99, which is a pretty good deal. This is about a $700 scope, brand new, and she's still got the tags on her. So good looking little compact scope, pretty decent magnification for the size. Come see me on it, guys. This would make a great scope at a pretty decent discount for somebody that's looking for a new home for it. All right, guys, now we're going to get into the guns. Too many for me to show you tonight, but I figured I'd show you a few different varieties of handguns, excuse me, and long guns that we've got in. This is the new Bodyguard 2.0. Pretty cool little gun. If any of you guys have ever had like a Diamondback DB380 or something, I'm not comparing this gun to that. This is kind of a different tier of gun, but what it is very similar in profile. It's really thin, it's relatively small. It's not much bigger, if any bigger, than most of your pocket 380s, but this is just a whole step above most of them. It's got a really nice little striker action trigger in it instead of a double action like a lot of your baby 380s. It's big enough with the extended magazine that you can get a whole hand on it, which is something you don't really see a lot in these pocket 380s. It comes with a flush fit magazine as well that holds 2 less rounds. I think this one's 12. Oh, you can see her there. Oh, it's not going to do it for me. Well, anyway, 12 rounds, take my word for it. And the other one's 10, so it's a pretty awesome capacity for a gun this size. I've never been a huge 380 fan. I've never really looked at a 380 pocket gun and just thought, man, I'd love to have that, because most of them are not terribly pleasant to shoot, and I like to shoot them. I don't really want a gun that I don't enjoy shooting. And the advantage to the little 380s has always been they're really tiny. They're really easy to conceal. They're just convenient to carry in a pocket if you're not wearing a bunch of thick clothes or you have internal pockets. And this one definitely fits that bill, but with a decent trigger and a decent set of sights that are actually removable and adjustable to some extent as compared to some of your fixed milled slides that are on your little 380s. I got this gun because it was new. They just came out with it, and I figured somebody's going to want that. I wasn't really excited about it, but when I walked in the shop, took it out of the box to put on the shelf, I was like, man, that the first time I've ever just handled a 380 and thought, I want that. That's a pretty cool little gun. Got one left in the back. I don't know how long they'll last. I've already sold one. I got 3. But pretty cool little piece. Figured I'd show it to you guys. If you don't know much about them, of course, if you're watching this video, you've probably already looked up reviews and watched some cool tactical videos of somebody just rocking it out. But new Bodyguard 2.0. Another super cool one we've got. This is actually a used gun. This is a pretty rare gun. This is sort of a, if you know, you know. A lot of people know Magnum Research, IWI. They're an Israeli company. They make the Tavors and they make the Desert Eagles, and they make a lot of really cool and kind of off-the-wall guns. And they're valuable guns. They're not cheap guns, but this is a micro Eagle, micro Desert Eagle. So this is, as far as I know, the only baby 380 that Magnum Research ever made. A lot of you probably know the Desert Eagle, the Big Daddies. They make them in 357, 44 Magnum, 50 Action Express. They're monstrous handguns. This is not. This is itty bitty. It is so cool. They're pretty rare. You don't see them very often. And this is not going to be the average gun that your 380 buyer is going to come in looking for, because it's a little bit pricey of a gun. But for those who know, they know. And for people who love Magnum Research, they're going to appreciate this pistol. The quality is super good. The fit and finish is really nice. It is so tiny. It doesn't feel terribly small because she's relatively heavy. It's got a lot of steel. The whole frame, everything is steel. But they've got a really interesting mechanism in them. I don't know if we can get her to focus, but if you see right there, those little ports, The way these operate, when that round goes off, it shoots the gas from the chamber out forward and helps the slide start to recoil to cycle the gun. So that's a really unique thing to these guns. I mean, most of the Desert Eagle, Magnum Research, IWI stuff is really unique in its own way, but I'm not aware of any other gun that actually does that. And they do it well. These guns are very reliable, and they are super compact, and they're super sturdy, and just really high quality. But you're not going to see these very often, guys. If you know them, come see us. We can get this for you, because this is just not one you walk across every day. So another interesting one. These are not terribly uncommon, but I'm going to show it off just because I really like these guns. I actually carry an MP9 Shield. I carry one of the older ones that only holds 8, but this is the Shield Plus. This gun is almost the exact same size as my little 8-rounder, but holds 13 rounds in the magazine. And I had to pick the Rose Gold because, frankly, honestly, embarrassingly, I like the Rose Gold. I would totally carry this gun. It is a nice change as far as colors go. I think it's obviously put out for the female market, right? But they've come out with a lot of them over the years, pink and purple and turquoise, and Glock had some Tiffany blues and stuff. But there's a handful of makers now that are making these in rose gold. That's what they call it. It's just a goldish pink. But I really like the color. Great guns, super reliable. They're good shooters, right, for the size they are. And that's part of why I picked this gun for my carry. When I go out and practice, you should be competent with your gun, right? You should shoot the gun often. You should be comfortable with the gun. You should know how the gun handles, because when your life depends on it, if you're not familiar with your weapon, then you're not going to be proficient with it, right? Mistakes can be made, and mistakes when your life's in danger can put your life in more danger, right? So these are just awesome shooters. They've got good triggers. They're accurate. I've had a ton of fun with mine. I've put so many rounds through it. Too many to keep track of, really. And this is just the upgraded version with the 13+1 rounds. This one's got a safety. They make it without them. Typically, I'll keep guns with the safeties because most people like the safety over not having the safety. But just a great little gun, and wanted to show off that rose gold because I like it. So the next one we're going to show off, this is the CZ P10F. This is a different animal from what you've seen so far. These guns are full-size 9mm. They got a relatively long grip. These guns are, in my opinion, the deal in the handgun market right now. $380. You get 2 full-size magazines that hold 19 rounds, which is quite a bit. Your average full-size 9mm is going to be 17. Some are 15, a few are 18, but I don't think there's any other just standard factory-made 9mm out there, especially not in this price range. You're getting 20 rounds in the gun. The triggers in them are phenomenal. They've got good sights on them. A lot of guys who shoot competitively that want a gun that's super fast, that's super accurate, that feels good in the hand and draws quick, etc., they're picking CZs. Now, a lot of guys shooting elite competition aren't shooting this P10F. But a lot of guys that are starting in competition and stuff, this is a great option. And it's also a great option for self-defense. It's uber reliable. It's never going to fail you. It's just like all these modern polymer frame pistols. This is just a great gun, and I just wanted to show you this one because, like I said, I think this is really the deal to be had right now as far as full-size 9mm go. You really just cannot beat this for the money. Another cool one I want to show you guys. This is a Springfield Ronin. This is a 1911 platform, and for those who know 1911s, you know, nothing quite feels like a 1911. Good, heavy, fit good in the hand, beautiful guns, just real pieces of craftsmanship, designed a really long time ago, released in the year 1911. Of course, this one's not that old. This is a brand new gun, but this one's in 10mm. And if you follow me on the channel, you're gonna learn I love 10mm. It is just one of my favorite cartridges. It's a little bit pricey, but it's got so much oomph. It's a blast to shoot. It's not unruly, but you can tell that you got a pretty poppy round in your hand. And a 1911 and 10mm is just too cool of a gun. So Springfield released these. I think they've got a few different color schemes. This one's black over stainless with the wood grips. The fit and finish on this is just really nice. It's got the front side serrations. And I've only had this a few days. This one gets a lot of attention, rightfully so. They are just gorgeous guns. Any 1911 is a pretty gun. The most basic 1911 just looks like the way a handgun should look, but Some of them get pretty fancy, and this one's in that realm. It's just a beautiful gun. And Springfield, of course, is a classic. They've been around for a long time. They're not the original Springfield that you knew from back in the day. They've changed hands a few times, but any of you who know Springfield since 1794, they've been essentially the main provider of small arms for the United States military since the inception of the United States, for a very long time. Most of the Garands made in World War II were Springfields. A lot of guns up until about the mid-60s. Just about everything small arms wise was either a Springfield design or a Springfield make. So they're trying to carry it on. They're doing a good job with these. I think they're pretty guns, and this is just a fun one to have out at the range. This would be one you could hunt with. This would be one you'd carry on your side if you're out hunting out west and something in bear country. But realistically, I would have this gun just to have a blast with it, because the triggers can't be beat. They feel right in the hand, and 10mm is just one of my favorite cartridges. Haven't had this one long. A little excited to show it off. I'm not a revolver nut, but the revolvers I like are Smith & Wessons, and the Smith & Wessons I like are 686s. This is my favorite revolver. They make them in different colors. They've got blued and stainless and everything in between. They've got long barrels, short barrels, big grips, small grips, but what this is a well-refined, great trigger, 7-shot, full-size, large frame, 357 revolver. They just feel right in the hand. They shoot well. 357 is one of the better cartridges ever made as far as handguns go. To this day, it's got a better reputation than just about anything out there. And this one's used. For those of you that are interested, the yellow tags when you come into the shop, anything that's got a yellow or yellowish tag is a used gun. So all the long guns I keep over on the used gun rack, but the handguns are just kind of mixed in with the new handguns. And this is my favorite revolver. I like the little snubby barrel. 357 is really loud, it's quite cracky, but the recoil is manageable. It's a super effective high energy round, and the weight of this gun really tames the recoil. And this is not a particularly fancy 686p, but they're all fancy to me. I mean, the 686s are they're just a pretty gun. There's a lot of fit and finish and detail that goes into them, and this is no exception. They get fancier, they get bigger, they get badder, but even the basic 686s are just super nice guns. I can't really describe in video how good this one feels in the hand and the balance of everything of it, but just a super effective round, a super nice gun, a pretty good price. This one won't be here very long, I'm sure, because guys just kind of dote over these guns, and I understand it. Like I said, I'm not even really a revolver guy, but I love them, so. Alright guys, can't really fit this all into frame. Can't talk about cool guns without showing off the Smith & Wesson Model 500. This is a bad mamma jamma. This is, talked about in the last video, with the exception of some really oddball, non-standard, impossible to find cartridges, this is basically the most powerful handgun in the world. Dirty Harry would be proud. About $1,500 for this beauty. It's got an 8 3/8 barrel with a brake. Now this brake, or compensator, depending on how you want to call it, can be changed out depending on what sort of loads you're shooting. It's got a nice little pin that pops out there, and then that whole thing slides out the side where those dogs are, and you can put the other brake in it. This is a 5-shot, oh, you're heavy, darling. 5 shots, monster, and you can see just how big this gun is. Not only that, but I mean, I don't have particularly petite hands. That's a solid 3 or 4 pounds, and that's a thumper. That's one that if you haven't shot guns much, don't let somebody trick you into shooting this. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to be pleasant to shoot either. It takes a little bit of practice to tame the recoil this thing has. There is literally nothing in the United States, or nothing in the Western Hemisphere, that you could not take game-wise with this gun. It is just a super cool round. It's not terribly cheap to shoot. It's coming down a little bit. You used to not find rounds for it for any less than $5, but now I think I got a box of them over there, 20 rounds, and it's about $2.50, $3 a piece. So you can get some cheaper loads for it, but this isn't one you're just taking out every day and shooting for fun. You could, I suppose, if you wanted to. Like I said, there's a guy who's a regular in here. He carries one of these with a barrel about as long as what you see in the frame there on his hip all day, every day. Super cool guy. But typically, your average person is not going to be just popping these off A, because of cost, B, because they are just, they're a thumper. They're pretty aggressive, pretty hard on the hands, but can't talk about handguns we got in the shop without showing off that Smith 500. It's, I think, the original 500. I mean, the caliber is 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, right? And they've chambered a few other guns in it, but this is the King Daddy, the OG. Everybody wants one. I want one. I don't know if I'd ever shoot it, but I do want it. All right, guys, not going to go through a bunch of long guns. The video is probably going to be longer than you care to watch anyway. We'll save it for another video, so check back in. Got a lot of really cool used long guns. Got a few new long guns. I'm looking at them right now that are kind of hard to get. They're pretty sought after. So we can talk about those if they're still here in the next video. Hopefully it won't take me 2+ weeks to do it this coming time. Been really busy. But just wanted to go over a few quick things as far as etiquette, right? But before we do that, we're going to talk about the 3 rules, 3 safety rules, because I'm going to talk about it a lot because people need to be reminded. And this isn't preaching. This is just something that a lot of people do not give the respect to firearms that they should. And that's how people get hurt, because they're capable of harm, right? So rule number 1, never, ever assume a gun's unloaded. It's always loaded. Always assume the gun's loaded. I've got a whole jar over there on the counter. It's just full of rounds that people have come in here with guns and said it's not loaded, or swung a gun around and all this, and it's had rounds in the gun, in the chamber, and that's how people get hurt. You can't just trust somebody at their word when they say a gun's unloaded. You always assume a gun is loaded, right? Number 2, keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to shoot. That's really simple. It's really easy. To this day, when I grab a power drill, I keep my finger up above that trigger until I'm ready to use the drill and make it come on, because it's such a habit that you just keep your finger out of that trigger until you're ready to pull it. I've seen people who have been shooting guns for a long time pull a gun out of their holster, let the finger slide into that trigger guard, and shoot right into the ground next to their foot. Luckily, they weren't pointing directly at their foot, because that would have hurt them. But what happened is they stuck the finger in the trigger when they were drawing the gun. They yanked on the trigger because they were in a rush, because it's competition. And bullet went in the ground. They were disqualified. They were embarrassed more than that. And luckily, nobody got hurt, but they could have. And number 3, don't point a gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. Guns are high energy devices, and they launch things out of them that are made to break things. That's just what they do. So if you're pointing a gun at something and something goes off, there's a round in that chamber, and you're not following the other safety rules, or something happens and it gets smacked and you bump and bang, it goes off, whatever it's pointing at, it's gonna tear up. So think about it. You surely don't want it pointing at something or someone you love, right? You don't want to accidentally shoot your dog. You definitely don't want to be pointing guns at people, right? Even if you don't like them, we're all people. We need to respect each other. You shouldn't wish harm on anybody. But lesser than that, you don't want to be pointing a gun at your television, right? Or at your stove, or at anything that you're not willing to tear up, right? That's how accidents happen and people get hurt and things get destroyed. So follow those rules. And that brings me to the last little bit I'm going to go into. We're going to talk about a little bit of gun shop etiquette. I'm not going to go too much into detail because different shops are different, but the first one and the only one I'm really going to talk about tonight is, guys, don't bring loaded guns into a gun shop, okay? If you're carrying a gun on you for self-defense and it's in a holster or in your pocket or in your purse or some sort of concealed way, and you keep it loaded, that's a different story, right? I have a loaded gun on me in here all the time. And most of the guys who come in here, most of the regulars, they've got loaded guns on them in one form or another. But what they're not doing is they're not pulling these guns out loaded, swinging them around, unloading them. There's always a potential that something could happen in that situation. If you're coming in and you want to trade a gun, or you want to find a holster for your gun, or you want to find accessories for your gun, and you're not sure something's going to fit, so you want to bring the gun in, great, right? I love the opportunity to play with people's guns. Anything you bring in here, I'm going to be ecstatic to help you with it. But come in, if it's a handgun, come in with the slide lock back and the magazine out, right? That's a quick way that anybody in the building can look over and see that gun is open and unloaded, right? Now, you're still going to treat it like it's loaded, but safety-wise, don't point it at people, don't be swinging around, and don't bring it in loaded. Don't put a gun on the counter and put me in a situation where I have to unload it, because that's not safe, and it's bad etiquette. Let's just call it rude, which is a bit of an understatement, but anytime you go into a gun shop anywhere, no one's going to give you flack for bringing a gun in. but don't have them loaded. Don't have them closed up. Don't be swinging them around. Don't be pointing them. With long guns, have the bolt open. If it's a shotgun, have the slide pulled back, right? Just some easy visual indicator that everybody can see, okay, this gun is not hot in this very moment. And if a round is in it, at least it's locked open so it's not closed and ready to fire, right? That's been happening far too much. And it's not by people that I know that are coming in here, but people come in here far too often with a gun that is loaded. And it gives you the heebie-jeebies with a bunch of people around to have to grab a gun and rack it and throw a round out of it to make it safe before you start working with it, right? So don't do that. That'll be really my only high horse moment for the night. Safety is very important. We don't want anybody to get hurt. We want people to have fun, be safe. So that's something that's been happening enough that I felt like I'd bring it up in this video. I've seen it in other videos or other gun shop owners, and it's a shame that it happens, but it does happen. So don't be one of the people that it happens to. And if you do, I'm keeping the ammunition in that gun. I got a jar on the counter, and when it's full, I guess I'm going to have to move to a bigger bucket, sadly. But I'm sure it's going to keep happening, but don't let it happen, right? And other than that, guys, I appreciate your time. Be safe. Have fun. God bless. Thanks a lot. Christian for Mike's Guns. Hey, checking back. Getting ready to walk out the door. Forgot to mention, got t-shirts. Who wants merch? I want merch. Mike's Guns and Archery. That's the classic logo. They're all pocket tees right now. I've got my sister making them. She's a sweetheart, and she does good work. But I figured, why not, right? Got some t-shirts. That's the classic logo. The and is a little bit different because apparently it's a little difficult to peel that out. But classic Mike's Guns logo. That's the one you're going to see above the store when you come in. And then my sister took liberties to make a newish logo, MGA, Mike's Guns and Archery. I thought it was pretty cool. So she's got a handful of t-shirts. She's making me some more. If you guys feel like coming in to buy a t-shirt and rep Mike's, I'd love it, right? Sounds like a good idea to me. I wear mine more often than not, and who doesn't love a pocket tee? So, not going to keep you, but figured I'd show that off. That's a new addition to the store. Got stickers too. Buy a gun, get a sticker, right? Buy the right gun, you might get a free t-shirt because thank you for your business. So, anyway, getting ready to walk out the door, signing off. Christian, Mike's Guns.